Paul, you are always good at guessing your time. So where do you think that fell? Was it more M2 or was it more Hellcat?
Oh, it was way more Hellcat. Way more Hellcat.
Hey Paul, remember back in the day there were basically two kinds of Mercedes. There was the Mercedes-Benz and then there was the AMG.
Yes.
That was it, right? You could get the regular Benz or you could get the all-out racetrack, hardcore. This is the one that's going to scare you.
Yep, separate company but approved by Mercedes. This is what you want if you want the hardcore car.
And then the two merged.
Yep. Mercedes bought them.
And now you have Mercedes-AMG, but it gets much more complicated because now there are three flavors of AMG, right? There's the 43, the 53, and the 63.
Because marketing.
Yes.
And they're trying to invent categories between categories. And
what we have behind us is the 53. And coming up right now, we're going to find out if this bad boy is hot
or not.
Hey guys, just a special shout out and thank you to IMI Motorsports, where we do all of our testing, over 121 acres of both on and off-roading. So if you guys want to come out here and try the track, or better yet, go out on the dirt yourself, click on the link below. All right, Paul, buckle in, because this is going to take a while. So under the hood, we have a 3-liter straight six.
Straight six, not a V6.
Right, that produces 429 horsepower and 384 pound-foot of torque. But it's not that simple, is it?
No, that's combined. And that's kind of a new word maybe we need to get used to when we're talking about these new 48-volt systems that are in these cars, because the 48-volt system has a motor generator between the engine and the 9-speed automatic transmission, and that provides 21 horsepower and a bunch of torque to help the car get off the line and helps it kind of in start-stop. It doesn't have any plug-in capabilities or any EV range, but regardless, that actually helps the car as far as its fuel economy and power output. And then the 48-volt system also allows all the accessories to be electric on the car. And the cool thing about that was, without the accessory belts, it shortened the engine, and that's the whole reason that we could get an inline six, a sweet inline six back instead of a V6 engine. And so that motor generator kind of takes the place of the alternator. That produces that 48-volt electric for this car to run. And then it runs all of the power steering, all the accessories, the air conditioning, all that stuff's run off of there. And then it also adds horsepower into the mix when you're on the pedal. So then it's a combined, 429 horsepower and 384 pound-feet of torque.
Like I said,
in a nutshell.
Like I said, guys, buckle in. But it also makes it heavy, right? This thing is 4,400 pounds, which doesn't help around the track. And the other thing that's even more confusing is that the AMG 43 is a V6. This is a straight six.
Exactly.
And the 63 is a twin-turbo V8.
Yeah, just like, let's just build every configuration we can get. There's probably an inline 5 in there somewhere and a V4 two-stroke that we haven't heard about yet.
I think the simplest thing about this is that it has a 9-speed automatic.
Yeah, exactly. It shifts really hard, like you're feeling the shifts on the car. And I like to point, like, look at this, like it's got aluminum, that they're running, and they left it bare, like to show, hey, we're trying to save some weight. But yeah, whenever you're adding all this stuff together, it creates some efficiencies from the powertrain, but you're adding weight, which subtracts some of it at the same time. So you're always trying to hit that balancing act. Is it a real AMG, though? See if it'll let me brake torque here. We'll try a 0 to 60 at altitude and see if that electric supercharger can help. Full throttle. You can hear it straining against the brakes. Oh, it's a little bit of wheel spin even with the all-wheel drive. Much better shift to second.
right, Paul. Mercedes says 4.5, 0 to 60. Now, watching you from the outside, a couple impressions. First of all, it sounds okay. You know, it's not quite Hellcat loud, but it's also not, you know, a pussyfoot.
Right.
The shifts feel really hard. Bam, bam. You can really see it shift.
Hits you.
It really gets up and goes, so the whole shot's there.
Yep.
But, you know, watching you do all these other cars, I'm going to say it's right around 5 seconds. I don't feel like that's a sub 5 car. So,
well, here we are at high altitude, right?
Yep.
Which we always have to remind everybody.
Yep.
And normally what we see is a car with a, usually here it's a good 1 second slower at altitude.
So it should be 5.5.
4.82.
Whoa! So the
electric component is helping because it's obviously offsetting a little bit of the lower air density that we get here at altitude. That's one of the quicker 0 to 60s we've seen here.
Yeah, it's good, dude. It's good. Yeah, I'm impressed.
And
right.
This car must have the world's best sound generator in the interior through the Burmeister system, because you're like, ah, it sounds okay. It sounds awesome in the car. That was the first thing that surprised me. I mean, it has this great inline six, you know, that sort of beautiful rhythmic inline six kind of growly, throaty tone. I like it. It's a big, heavy car. It's got a lot of power and an all-season tire. It's not always the ideal combination. When we look at the wheels, tires, and suspension on this AMG Mercedes, we've got 19-inch wheels, but it's a staggered wheel tire package. So we've got a 245 in the front and a 275 in the rear. They're Continental Pro Contact SSRs, which are an all-season tire, so not ideal for the track. But for an all-wheel drive, kind of supposed to be an all-season vehicle, it's the right type of tire to have on it. It's just obviously going to hurt it a little bit on the track. Brakes, it's an AMG, so we've got some big 4-piston brakes all around, vented rotors, slightly smaller in diameter than you'd get on the C63, but much larger than the standard brakes on this car. And then the suspension is basically a fully active setup. Mercedes kind of going crazy in this direction, and so not only is it 4 air springs that can change the ride height, so in Sport Plus it actually lowers itself down, but it also pumps up the outside when you're cornering in an effort to minimize body roll. Remember, with all of these things, we're talking about a big vehicle. These things are getting very heavy these days, and so they're throwing every trick in the book and inventing new tricks along the way to try and keep these things a true AMG product that drives the way an AMG car should drive. She's a bit woolly. It's very soft, even though I got the suspension set as stiff as it goes. Just trying to get it to turn. It's got a lot of understeer. Big old 4-wheel disc through there. Very reluctant to downshift as well in manual mode. Loads of understeer, oh my goodness, come on. You can do better than that, Mercedes. Gotta be really patient getting it into the corner. Wow. It did not like that. So really impressive powertrain, but definitely heavy car. Even with the suspension set up stiff, which I have, stiff as it goes, very soft, loads of understeer built into this thing, and not much grip from the tires. So that kind of course, multiplies the grief factor for going around the track.
Paul, you are always good at guessing your time, so where do you think that fell?
I'm guessing.
Was it more M2 or was it more Hellcat?
Oh, it was way more Hellcat. Way more Hellcat. I mean, I would probably guess like in the, I'm gonna say like a 106 or 7, like 7-ish. Yeah, there we go. Even slower, 8.22. So very Hellcat.
Yeah, 108.22. Yeah, it's just a big, heavy beast, huh?
It did not like it. It doesn't like changing direction very much.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of understeer. It takes a lot of patience on the entry to the corner. It feels like the ABS is biasing a lot of brake to the front while I'm trying to get it to turn, which makes that harder. And then it kind of just sort of breaks loose and flat slides occasionally, like four-wheel drifts here and there, which is kind of cool, but
not good for fast
not
times.
super productive. Yeah. So it's just not a very well. Think about like the last thing we sort of drove like this, and again it's a different category, but the M5 that we had here, and it was just a rock star around here.
Yeah.
You know, and I think of an M2 or any of those vehicles are really good. So if that's the direct competitor to AMG, they certainly do a good job, Mercedes, accelerating in a straight line, but they don't have the chassis dynamics, the track pedigree that the M cars have.
All right, Paul, so is the Mercedes-AMG CLS53 hot or not?
No.
Oh, ouch. It's, a sexy beast, dude.
It is, and I love the powertrain.
Yeah.
So, props to Mercedes-Benz for doing this 48-volt system, having the electric supercharger, the turbocharger, the integrated, motor generator in there. All that stuff actually works really, really well, and it's a fun, great-sounding engine. I'm glad the inline 6 is back. But it's the chassis that lets it down, and I think, just frankly, it's a big car. It's big and it's heavy, and to me, it just doesn't want to turn. It doesn't want to enter the corner at all. It has so much understeer. And you might say, oh, it's on all seasons, which it absolutely is. But the fact of the matter is, to me, it felt too soft already suspension-wise, even with all that electronic dynamic suspension wizardry that was going on there with the shock set stiff and it in its Sport Plus mode and everything we could do to it. It still rolled around. So if we put a summer tire on it, it's just going to roll even more. And yeah, it would do a better lap time, but it still wouldn't feel as very rewarding to drive. And so that to me is what it's missing.
So I think it's hot in a straight line, not so hot around a track. But how many people are going to track it, dude? I mean, I know it says AMG, but who's going to take it out here?
Well, even on a windy road, we're blessed with great roads in Colorado. So even on a windy road, driving it at a nice, safe, 5 or 6 tenths, that's too soft for me for an AMG product.
Well, there you have it, guys. Two old guys remembering what AMGs used to be instead of what they are
Bring
today.
back the hammer. Look it up.
Yeah, look it up. Thanks for watching, and check out tflcar.com for more news, views, and of course, real-world reviews.